Well, I guess we're stuck redoing this video. So, what is up, guys? It's me, the ALE double X Prince, and I have to redo this video because I actually did watch What If Randy Orton left to AEW, and then all of a sudden the video just stopped. It was like, what the hell? So, I'm gonna have to try to do this video again. Hopefully, it doesn't cut halfway through because this video hopefully works out for the best because I was very excited to do this one. I realized that if Randy Orton were to actually go to AEW, Jesus Christ, would this be one of the biggest game changers in history of professional wrestling? Because the guy would have just brought ratings. The people would have been super invested, and it'll give WWE a big reason to try to actually push a new top talent to face the likes of Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman. So realistically, this was good. This would have been a very great move for business. The question is, how would he end up at AEW? Well, we'll have to start at WrestleMania 36, Night 2, where he lost to Edge in the Last Man Standing match. Then 2 weeks later comes out, and he just comes out, cuts a promo saying that how, that WWE has just constantly relied on the past. That's why I wanted to get rid of Edge all this time. Getting rid of all these legends, getting rid of all the young talent, and it's still not good enough to put me back on the top where I truly belong. But guess what? By the end of this year, I will be world champion one way or another. So you're probably thinking in the back of your head, holy shit, we're gonna have him take some time off and then he'll come back to fight Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. Nope. Instead, he'll be part of the buy-in ladder match that happened in real life of Double or Nothing. Instead of Brian Cage, it'll be Randy Orton. Now, let me just tell you who are the guys that will be involved in this match. It will start off with Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, like in real life. Then Ray Phoenix will come out. Then Cole Cabana. Then Darby Allin. Then Orange Cassidy. Then Luchasaurus. And then finally, Randy Orton. And I actually have a link down below to the theme song that Randy Orton would be using if he were to um, join AEW. It'll be pretty cool because all Randy Orton will do is hit a bunch of RKOs. Then it's Orange Cassidy and Randy Orton. Orange Cassidy wants to do the kicks that he usually does. Randy Orton looks like he's about to hit the RKO. And then Randy Orton just kicks Orange Cassidy in the nuts. And Orange Cassidy can't do his shit because his arms are in his pocket. So he just falls down and then he gets out of the ring. Then it's Luchasaurus. He's like getting up from the beating that he took prior to Randy Orton arriving. And then Randy Orton just punts him, climbs that ladder, grabs the chip, and he's now the new number one contender for the AEW World Championship. But I'm going to change the stipulation. You don't just defend that on a free TV. You hold on to that shit until All Out because that's how you build up good storytelling. You wait until All Out to do that. So the next night on Dynamite, Randy Orton comes out and says, I am sick and tired of not being pushed to the top, and I've noticed over the years I have um lost a lot of money because we're so focused on pushing all these young talents that are never gonna be at a top level like me. Um, so I'm really just here to make money and be the world champion because being the world champion means more money. And Tony Khan, you're a genius for signing me up for this, but you're an idiot to make me believe that that it's gonna stop me from saying what I want. Because realistically, Randy Orton hates AEW. Like he would probably hate working there, or he'll just be one of those great heels that hates working. He'll be like CM Punk, but in reverse. Him hating where he works at and people love him for it. Here, it's him hating the company and people hate him for it because it's like, yo, like Randy Orton, come on. So then we do. So as he's cutting this promo, Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky, and Christopher Daniels all come out. They're cutting a promo on Randy Orton saying that, you coming to AEW is gonna be the biggest mistake of your life. It's time to make sure the revolution will be shown for wrestling. We're gonna come back to real life wrestling and make sure that wrestling is gonna be at the top of the game. Like, people will be talking about wrestling once again. Randy Orton's like, yeah, people will be talking about wrestling again, but not because of you guys. It will be because of me. So next week we do Randy Orton versus Frankie Kazarian. Um, Something you should know, that FTR debut the exact same way. Them driving off and facing off with the Young Bucks. But now we find out that FTR will be a part of Randy Orton's stable. It's going to be Randy Orton, FTR, and Sean Spears, who recruited Tully Blanchard, because, yes, we're doing it, the Four Horsemen, with those four guys, Randy Orton, FTR, and Sean Spears. So those guys will be the top guys. At Fighter Fest, we'll do FTR and Randy Orton versus SCU. Obviously, Randy Orton and FTR win. That's when we announced that they will be part of the Four Horsemen. Sean Spears comes out with Tully Blanchard, and they form the Four Horsemen. Then at Fight for the Fallen, we'll do Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin for the AEW World Championship. Jon Moxley wins. Then it ends with like the Four Horsemen. They're all about to come in and beat the crap out of Jon Moxley. That's when Darby Allin and Jon Moxley get up to team up, and Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross are like, oh, this does not look for them. It's 2-4. Like, who else could come out and help them? And that's when Eddie Kingston comes from the crowd, because it wasn't unexpected, because there shouldn't be a crowd. But Eddie Kingston comes out with a kendo sticks, beats the shit out of everybody. So it's like the show ends with a big fat brawl, and it will be a pretty badass way to end it. So we build up Jon Moxley versus Randy Orton. Typical promos of how, like, Jon Moxley should have been the top star, and the reason why Randy Orton wasn't a world champion around those times is because he just wasn't as relevant anymore. He was just horrible. He is just not a role model, kind of like Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton, their promos, but with Moxley and Orton. And then the main event of All Out, something you should know heading into All Out. So we keep most of the card the same, but we're gonna tweak it. Orange Cassidy will be part of that battle royal. And another thing, I decided, if possible, we would call it the King of Hearts Battle Royal, and it'll be uh, a battle royal in honor of Owen Hart. And there will be T-shirts sold at All Out, and we'll actually see fans with Owen Hart T-shirts, and people who buy those shirts that money will go straight to the Owen Hart Foundation. If Martha Hart and Owen's kids approve of it, that would be a pretty cool way to give tribute to the guy. And as far as Jericho goes, he will actually face MJF, because MJF is tired of Wardlow holding him back, and MJF wants to be part of a stable that is going to be worth staying around. So it's going to be Jericho and MJF. If MJF wins, he joins the Inner Circle, but instead, MJF puts on that little ring that he won earlier last year, beats the shit out of Jericho. He's bloodied up, and MJF beats Jericho by stoppage, and MJF will take over the Inner Circle. More on that later. But the main event, Randy Orton versus Jon Moxley, the winner and new AEW World Champion, Randy Orton. Randy Orton wins the belt. FTR win the tag team belts, and Sean Spears has a good showing in the Battle Royal. So the show ends with all four of them standing strong. Part of the reason why Jon Moxley lost is because Eddie Kingston tried to help Moxley, but he accidentally hit Moxley. But we realized that this is going to be a long work storyline angle between Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston heading into Full Gear. We'll basically keep the story and the match the same, minus the belt. So Randy Orton talks about how it was a good night for the Four Horsemen at All Out, and we're ready to make sure that we make the most money here on the company. And if you guys want to see this belt, the AEW World Championship, be on the line, then you're gonna have to pay good money because the next time I defend this belt will be at Full Gear. If you guys want to see a belt be defended for free, watch a Cody Rhodes match for the TNT Championship. Just calling out Cody Rhodes because that will go down. That will be saved for later, a future storyline. So we do a tournament to determine the number one contender for Randy Orton's AEW World Championship. The MJF, since he joined the Inner Circle and he beat up Jericho, he will now be the new leader of the Inner Circle. And to prove that he is nice, he's gonna give up his spots for the tournament to Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager. So the bracket looks like this. The first match will be Jake Hager versus Jungle Boy. Then it's gonna be Kenny Omega versus Sonny Kiss, the same squash match. Pentagon El Cero Miedo versus Ray Phoenix. Ray Phoenix wins, but then backstage you find out that Ray Phoenix got his ass kicked. Pentagon wants revenge, so he will take his spot once again, uh, inserting him to the semifinals. And then Hangman Page will beat Sammy Guevara. And then the following week will be Kenny Omega versus Penta El Cero Miedo. Kenny Omega wins. Adam Page beats Sammy Guevara. And then on the 1 year anniversary show of AEW Dynamite, it'll be Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page. Main event, winner faces Randy Orton at Full Gear. Kenny Omega wins, obviously. And then Randy Orton and Kenny Omega have a stare down. And the rest is history. So we basically talk about how Randy Orton's like, yes, the first time I'm going to defend this belt is going to be against the most overrated star in the company. The reason why this crap even existed. Kenny Omega is just cutting a promo about how he's going to be the cleaner, get out with the old, in with the new. So we're basically going to keep most of for the record, Chris Jericho's taken out of action for now, just for a little bit. So, plus we have Randy Orton, so we don't need a Jericho right now. So, here's what's set. Since Hangman Page beat Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager in the tournament, he teams up with the Dark Order just briefly to take on Santana and Ortiz. And now we're doing MJF versus Hangman Page at Full Gear. MJF wins, and then Hangman Page goes nowhere, so he joins the Dark Order. Then we keep mostly everything the same. FTR and Young Bucks. Eddie Kingston and Moxley without the belt. And the main event, Randy Orton versus Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. Kenny Omega wins. Yes, Randy Orton defends the belt once and he lost it. So, not a good night for the Four Horsemen. The next night, Randy Orton is furious, talks about how the Four Horsemen didn't look good that night. But trust me, they're going to try everything to get the best out of it. That's when Cody Rhodes comes out saying, hey, look, Randy, I lost my belt that night too. And we go way back. You at one point needed me to take care of your ass when there was absolutely nothing left for you. You try to inspire me and be part of the legacy, but all you did was just sell out and just be an asshole. So that's when Cody Rhodes slaps Randy Orton. Randy Orton loses it, beats the shit out of Cody Rhodes, and takes him out of action after he punts him. Plus, Cody Rhodes needs to take some time off because Brandy is pregnant, so they're going to need some time together. So at Winter is Coming, we're going to do Dustin Rhodes getting revenge on Randy Orton. So we're going to have that match. And then in the main event, it's going to be Kenny Omega versus Ray Phoenix, finally coming back after. And then that's when we reveal that Penta beat up Ray Phoenix, and then we'll set up that storyline later. So, in the first, on the final episode of Dynamite, we're gonna do Jon Moxley wanting back the AEW World Championship. Randy Orton wants the belt once again. So the main event of that show will be Randy Orton versus Jon Moxley once again. And it ends in a time limit draw because it's the main event. The show's almost over, so it just ends in a draw. And then they both get furious and they just beat the crap out of each other. And that's the final thing you see, just them two just beating the holy hell out of each other. And that is when they announced that Kenny Omega is not doing so good after going to Impact and trying to make a name for himself there. They're mad at Kenny Omega and they want the belt off of him immediately. At the same time, Moxley and Randy Orton want the belt. So, to make things more interesting, for the first time ever on AEW history, the first ever triple threat match of AEW, Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley, Randy Orton for the AEW World Championship. We make this match pretty badass. It's just going to be a pretty good match. This is the night where Cody Rhodes comes back and costs Randy Orton the match. The first time Cody Rhodes is seen on television in a while. Kenny Omega pins Jon Moxley 1, 2, 3. Kenny Omega is still your world champion. We do Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley at Double or Nothing down the road, but Randy Orton is just mad at Cody Rhodes, so he, at the same time, at Revolution, FTR win the belts back from the Young Bucks. So they're going to go back and forth throughout 2021 because I think those are the guys who will define the tag team division anyways. And those are the guys who will sell the most. So at Double or Nothing, we're going to change it up a bit. It's going to be Blood and Guts. We're finally doing Blood and Guts for the main event. It's going to be Cody and the Young Bucks and a mystery man versus the Four Horsemen, Shawn Spears, Randy Orton, and FTR, the World Tag Team Champions. We keep everything like similar to like a normal War Games match, and then the final entrant is going to be the returning Sting. Sting finally shows up to AEW. He doesn't do big bumps because it will fucking kill him probably. So he's just there for a brief minute, but Cody Rhodes gets the pin on Shawn Spears, and then it ends with Sting, the Young Bucks, and Cody standing all tall. And that is when Tully Blanchard realizes that Shawn Spears, even though he started the Four Horsemen, he's not a Four Horseman. So Tully Blanchard kicks out Shawn Spears out of the Four Horsemen. Replacing him will be the new TNT champion, Pac. So now the new Four Horsemen will be Randy Orton, FTR, and Pac. That honestly sounds way much cooler than Shawn Spears because not the biggest Shawn Spears fan, but this will be a great way to like just get him out of the TV and maybe return him as a babyface because maybe, just maybe, Shawn Spears could work as a babyface better. So after that, Randy Orton gets a little bit of a callback to one of his old rivalries, someone who never like got his revenge, and that is Matt Hardy. If you guys remember the last time we saw Matt Hardy on WWE, Randy Orton beat the shit out of him, so now he wants revenge on him. Around this time, Jeff Hardy returns as well, so we're gonna do Matt Hardy versus Randy Orton. Randy Orton loses with the help of the returning Jeff Hardy, so the Hardy Boys are back. So then at All Out, it'll be a triple threat ladder match. Young Bucks, Hardy Boys, FTR tag team belts on the line. That is just a kick-ass tag team match. It's just like Chris Jericho gets the opportunity to face Kenny Omega at All Out. I think they deserve the main event and a big time match. So Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho culminate their trilogy. Brody Lee versus Hangman Page, MJF versus Sammy Guevara finally. But what does Randy Orton do? Randy Orton will take on Cody Rhodes one-on-one finally. And there's a little bit of an added stipulation. Cody Rhodes has just been wanting to be back at the World Championship picture. So if he wins, he will get a chance to face for the AEW World Championship once again. If he loses, he retires from professional wrestling. He'll still be a creative writer for AEW, but he'll just never wrestle again. He has nothing left. So we do Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. Cody Rhodes wins. Obviously, this will be a big markout moment. And then we move on to the legend killer Randy Orton. We'll do a cinematic match at Full Gear, Sting versus Randy Orton, where Randy Orton retires Sting for good because one, I don't think Sting could do like a legit match, so a cinematic match will help him the most. And Randy Orton retires Sting for good. Then he goes on to so at Full Gear, the main event will be Kenny Omega versus Cody Rhodes, world title. Cody Rhodes finally gets the belt after 2 years of possibly fighting for the world title. He finally gets his match and he gets his moment. Cody Rhodes is your new AEW World Champion. And then we do Cody versus Randy Orton for 2022. And for the most part, I think you guys got the idea of where Randy Orton goes from here. What do you guys think? Did you guys enjoy this What If? Sorry that I had to redo it once again, but that's how life goes. It's me, the ALE Prince. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And until then, I'm out.